Thanks for tuning in. This is Brad Hennings, and I'm joined with Michael Strito, and we're both with Chisholm and Kilpatrick. And we're here today to talk a little bit about red flags to watch out for when you're choosing a VA lawyer or a VA representative. Um, so both Mike and I have worked in the VA world for quite a number of years, mainly concentrating at the VA, but also working at the Court of Appeals for veterans claims. So let's talk a little bit about this, Mike. What are some of the red flags that a veteran or a dependent survivor should be aware of when they're looking for an organization to represent them before the VA?
Yeah, thank you, Brad. So there are, as many of us know, there are really many organizations that veterans can choose from when they're seeking representation for their VA claims and appeals. Unfortunately, however, not all of them are always trustworthy, and some really should be avoided. Um, so when we're looking at this, or when veterans are looking at this, I think some of the biggest red flags they should at first be aware of involve the charging of attorney fees or representation, fees for representation. And so initially, if a veteran were to come upon an organization that will request fees up front, that I think is a huge red flag. The VA world works differently than other areas of law and the other practices of law. And so, if a veteran were to come across a representative who would charge fees up front, that is a huge red flag to be aware of. Related to that, the disguise of any upfront fees as something framed as a membership fee or a VIP access fee, those are red flags that veterans want to be aware of as well. And then I think finally, when it comes to fees, charging fees on future monthly benefits is another thing that veterans want to be aware of. Um, Representatives are allowed to charge fees on retroactive awards, but when veterans receive their monthly compensation benefits each month going forward, those benefits are for the veteran to keep him or herself. And so, any organization or any representative that is looking to take a piece of that monthly benefit moving forward is a absolute huge red flag that veterans want to be aware of and really avoid.
And so, Mike, isn't it a fact that not only is it a huge red flag, it's something that the VA prohibits explicitly? Is that correct?
That's 100% accurate. And so, when we talk about membership fees or VIP access fees, as I mentioned, these could be things that organizations do to disguise the fact that they're charging upfront fees or that they're charging, what otherwise would be deemed kind of an illegal fee or prohibited fee on future monthly benefits. And so, really, whether it's an attorney, whether it's another representative, representatives really should only be looking to or are able to ethically and under law take retroactive fees. And so if there's an organization that is not doing that, that is a big red flag for veterans, and it's something to certainly be avoided.
I think another thing that it's really important to think about is if you're this any lawyer or any organization is trying to mislead you or deceive you about your benefits or rights. You can't guarantee outcomes, whether it's percentages that you can win, guaranteed compensation numbers, or time frames in which you'll be successful. That's simply not realistic, and it's not ethical by any means. So really beware of anyone who comes in making those kinds of promises. The other thing is, as Mike was talking about, you can't receive or solicit funds related to services provided prior to when VA issues its initial decision. Basically, you can't charge for any work that you've done in filing an initial claim. You certainly can charge on appeals, and that's what many attorneys and representatives will do. But you cannot charge for help filing an initial claim.
Yeah, and that's a great point. There are very strict rules in this area, and they're really to protect veterans. It's a protected class in layman's terms, I would say, not necessarily under law, but these rules exist to protect veterans from historically representatives that may have looked to take advantage of them. And so, these red flags that we're discussing, I think, are really critical for veterans to think about as they're seeking, an accredited trustworthy representative to handle their case. Another thing I think that veterans want to be aware of is that there are very uh, dense rules and regulations surrounding this area of practice. They're located in 38 U.S. Code or Title 38 of the Code of Federal Regulations. They're regulations and they're statutes that are sometimes difficult to understand, and they really prescribe the specific rules that the VA benefits system is supposed to follow as a representative handles a VA case. And so if a representative or an organization is looking to bend those rules in any way or to not follow those rules, that is another huge red flag that veterans should be on the lookout for. And if that were to happen, perhaps look for a different representative, because that is something that's unethical. It could hurt the veteran and their pursuit of their claim, and it's certainly prohibited.
It's really important, as Mike was saying, you don't want to disclose any of your personal information without permission. I think that's incredibly important. You don't want to sign an ACH transfer authorization for your representative, and that is a way to transfer money directly out of your bank account, because you run the risk of them being able to sweep your bank account, and so you don't want them to have that kind of power over your finances. Ultimately, you really don't want to work with anyone who is not accredited in the VA process. They have to be accredited by the Department of Veterans Affairs, meaning that either they're a lawyer who's gone through the vetting process, or you're an accredited agent and you have taken a test and done background checks and really had your representative thoroughly checked out. Because we're all governed by the model rules of professional conduct. So in addition to the VA regulations, as attorneys, as lawyers, we're governed by an additional set of ethical rules. And there are a number of operators out there who are not. And so our advice is to do not sign anything with an unaccredited individual. Ask them, are you accredited by the VA for the preparation and prosecution of claims? And if the answer is no, keep going.
That's a terrific point, and there's actually a great reference out there available on the internet nowadays for individuals to take a look, to Google search or to search in some other way to determine who's accredited, who's not accredited. And so it really allows for veterans who are seeking a representative to know whether their individual or their representative is accredited. And so that can be found on the internet, on VA's site. They can Google search it or search it through some other search engine. But the information is out there, and it's just really important for veterans to do their due diligence when it comes to that specific area.
Well, thank you, Mike, for your help with this. Thank you all for joining us. These are some of the most important things to be aware of when you're choosing a VA lawyer or representative. These are the red flags. For more information on choosing a VA lawyer or accredited representative, check out the videos on our YouTube channel or visit our blog at cck-law.com, and look at the one where it talks about how much can a VA disability lawyer or agent charge. Again, this is Brad Hennings with CCK. Visit us online via social media, and I hope everyone has a great day.